Hello, Grace Gems, and welcome to another episode of Uncomfortable but Necessary, where we have conversations that might be uncomfortable, but trust me, these are necessary conversations for us to have, especially to anyone that desire growth, transformation, and want to become a better version of themselves. So this is a home to everyone that is striving to be a better version of themselves, be it in relationships, be it in business and career, you know, just as a human being, the entirety of being a better version of your person, of who you're meant to be, your purpose and things you're created to accomplish here on earth. And over the course of few weeks, we've been talking about trauma and we've been looking at the different areas, of this topic. We've talked about, we had the introduction to trauma, how trauma, happens from persons to person. We talked about how it affects relationships. We talked about how trauma is passed down. We've talked about, different aspects of this topic. And today being the last episode of that series on trauma, we'll be talking about how to recover because for what was the essence of talking about a problem and you're not giving the way out. So now that we've, put out the foundation as to what this trauma is about, how it happens, how to identify, how is it being passed down. Now we need to look for a way forward on how to recover from trauma. So today we'll be talking about some of the things that can help you to recover or to heal from trauma. And you might want to, go through the previous episode if you missed them so you will know where we are building from. But just in case, you've been following us, you just stay still to this video to the end. All right. So, like I said earlier, we'll be talking about trauma and I want you to know one thing because it is one thing for you to be aware of your problem, the gravity of the problem, how magnificent the problem is, how big the problem is, and it's another thing to see the possibility of that problem being solved. Okay, so healing is one thing we do not often talk about when we talk about trauma. We talk about how people are traumatized, how people have experienced traumatic, situation. Even we ourselves, probably something happened like, oh, I had trauma, I had that trauma. It was a traumatic experience for me. And we do little to no talking about how to really heal. Or people are not even aware that there is an healing that can happen to everyone or anyone that choose to, everyone that gone through trauma. Healing is possible. So that is one thing I need you to first understand, that no matter the trauma you've gone through, healing is possible. Does that mean it will look like the trauma never happened? No. The essence of the healing is to first make you an individual, to remove yourself from the experience. Because what often happens when people that have experienced any kind of trauma is they see the trauma as them. They find it difficult to differentiate they as a person and the trauma as something that happened to them. I remember we said trauma can either be something that happened to you or something that did not happen to you. Remember? Okay, so most of the time we find difficult to disassociate ourselves from the experience. We see ourselves as the experience. So that is where the healing starts from. You need to understand that this happened to you or this did not happen to you, but still you are not this experience. That is what the healing really entails. So it's not like you're trying to deny or you're trying to forget or you're trying to pretend like it never happened. That is not the healing I'm talking about. That in fact that is not healing. That is denial. Okay, that is denial. So healing is possible, and it does, like I said, it does not mean you're trying to. We're not trying to erase it. You're not trying to forget it. You're not trying to hinder, to deny it. You're not trying to pretend. We are trying to dissociate ourselves, to remove ourselves from that experience, to tell ourselves, I am not the experience. Even though this thing happens to me, I am me. I am a person. I am who I am. I am an individual. I'm a human created in the image of God. I am not this thing. I am not this experience. Even though this experience happens to me, it happened to me. I'm a recipient. I'm a victim. I am not the cause of this thing that happened. Okay. And I also need you to also understand that healing from trauma are in phases. Healing are in phases. People heal at different paces. People heal. Some persons can be healing for 10 years. Some persons is 6 months. So depending on the gravity of the trauma, depending on the personality of the person that was traumatized, depending on the scope or the kind of trauma, depending on how the trauma had stayed and the effect of the trauma on the individual, all of these things are the things that determines how healing will happen or how fast healing will happen. And one thing I often tell people is do not rush your process. Do not rush your process. Do not rush your process. I have a counseling, coaching, and mentorship company, Clarion. You can check it out on Instagram. We coach people. It will help people through therapy session. We help people, going through some kind of what, and also in this kind of dramatic experience as well. And one thing I've often see is that most people just want to remove themselves from the trauma. They want to deny like it did not happen, or and there are different extremes to these things. Some people will think, oh, this thing happened because of me. So healing, when we say healing from a trauma, it's a lot, and that is why just a single episode or just 2 episodes on healing or recovery from trauma might not really. I'm trying to put out this disclaimer so you won't think that, oh, after this episode I'm good. This is just to open your eyes to the possibilities of you healing from a trauma and just have an idea of the likely process of how your healing might look like, or what an healing of a trauma, not your own trauma. Okay, because I don't know your trauma, I don't know what you're battling with, I don't know what is happening to you, but these are just to let you know healing is possible. Because this is one thing I need you to know. That is the essence of this video. This is not to help you directly heal. It might not help you, it might not provide to you based on your trauma. It might not help you as an individual to heal from that trauma, because I do not know your trauma again, and I do not know you listening to me. So this is just like a message of hope, and just for educational purpose, just to educate ourselves and remind you, even though you might not really have any trauma in a sense that you're battling with or you want to heal from, this might be an information or a knowledge that you can share with other people, probably help someone in similar situation or someone that is going through a traumatic experience. So it's not just for you, it might not just be for, it might be for someone else that you would know, or someone that you'll come across later in life. So just see this as an education and an enlightening podcast. This particular episode, like I said, is not to help you personally to come out of the trauma or to heal. It can, but it might not be. I'm not promising that, because I don't know your trauma, I don't know the gravity of your trauma, I don't know your personality, I don't know all of the situations around the trauma you're experiencing. Okay, so healing is possible, but healing is not automatic, like I said earlier, because many people assume that healing, because time, because another thing is that I need you to also know that times don't heal wounds. It's intentional healing that heal wounds. Like I said earlier, when you say you're healing from trauma, it's just like someone that had a wound. time will not just heal the wound. Sometimes that's some kind of wound that you have. You really need to take some medications. You have to probably change some kind of diet. You might probably need to probably rub some things on it. So that is how the wound will go. So sometimes people just as time goes on, I think I will move past this trauma. Most trauma are not things that you move past. You have to be intentional to heal from them. That's why it is important to talk to a counselor, talk to a therapist, talk to someone that can, help you go through this process. That can really break down the process and help you. It's a journey, trust me. Depending, especially some kind of trauma, you cannot heal from it all by yourself. You really need a help. You really need a help. You need help. Okay, so time is just time, will not just heal wounds because time passes, but healing has to be intentional. If you really want to heal from trauma, you really need to be intentional. Okay, so let me just briefly talk about what recovering from trauma really means. So, recovering does not mean that you're forgetting what happened. Like I said earlier, you're not trying to forget, you're not trying to pretend that it never happened, you're not trying to never feel the pain again. This is not denial, this is not pretense, this is not you trying to forget. Okay, so recovery means that you are learning how to live without the wound controlling your life. You're trying to regain your peace in case you've lost it. You're trying to develop healthier patterns in case the trauma had you know made you to have unhealthy pattern or healthy habits or unhealthy lifestyle. You're trying to become whole again in case the trauma had shattered you into pieces. Okay, because healing does not erase your story, it changes your relationship with your story. Did you get that? Just like what I said earlier. Healing does not erase your story, it changes your relationship with your story. So it doesn't deny or pretend or ignore the story that you had or the trauma that you had, but it is changing your relationship with your story. So it's telling you your story is not, or your trauma is not the entirety of you, but it's changing your relationship with your story. Another thing you need to do is to acknowledge the wound, because many people try to heal from what they refuse to acknowledge. Okay, so like I said earlier, but some people say things like, oh no, it's not that bad. Other people also have it worse, or I'm over it. And you deeply know inside of it that you're not over it. And because we say things like, oh, other people have worse, oh, my own is still okay, other people are facing through. The fact that is a traumatic experience, you need to heal from it, regardless of other people's experiences. You as an individual, you owe it to yourself to heal from your trauma, because you cannot heal what you refuse to face. Because another thing you need to know is that if you're refusing to face that traumatic experience, or to talk about it, or to ask for help, you will find it difficult to heal. So you cannot heal what you refuse to face. Because healing begins where honesty begins. You need to be honest with yourself. This traumatic experience or this thing was traumatic. In fact, some people are not even believing that they have trauma. So you need to first believe that I have a trauma, I need help, this thing, I need to heal from this thing. So you need to be honest. Another thing I need you to do is stop blaming yourself. But I've seen people, many trauma victims, they carry unnecessary guilt, for example, abuse victims, betrayal victims, neglected children, people who experience some kind of loss, because because of the shame, because of the self-blame, the guilt. You need to stop blaming yourself. Oh, I caused it. Oh, I made him do this to me. Oh, I did this. That was why I was molested. Oh, I did this as a child. That was why I was abused. No, you need to stop blaming yourself. You are the victim here. The fact that something traumatized you, or you're a you have some kind of trauma, you are the victim. Okay, you need to stop blaming yourself or start saying that you caused it. Okay, I also need you to understand that you need to also understand how the trauma has affected you. Because it's very important for you to know, okay, this is affecting me in this area. Is affecting my relationship, or is affecting, the way I see people, is affecting the way I see men. Because sometimes a lot of, not even this age and time of social media, there are a lot of philosopher out there. All men are this, and I can just see behind those words, and I'm like, this is a traumatized person. A lot of trauma had become philosophy, has become, a lot of traumatic victims have become philosophers that are going with different narrative. But this is you, that what you're saying is from your experience because you were traumatized. So it's okay to say, oh, I was hurt, this thing happened to me. That does not mean that is the entire truth. The fact that your truth is your truth does not mean that is the truth. The fact that of a truth it happened to you, your experience does not mean that is the way it was meant to be, or everybody had to experience that thing. So the fact that you got molested by someone, or a guy cheated on you, does not mean all men are that. Okay. So you need to understand how the trauma has affected you, how it affected your relationship, has it affected your confidence, has it affected your trust, or has it affected the way you see yourself? Has it affected the quality of decisions and choices you make? Because I see people make some choices. I'm like, why did you do this? And I'm like, I don't know. This is just what I feel like. And it's as a result of the trauma they've sustained over time. So people make some choices and some decisions based on the trauma that they have. So you need to understand how this trauma affects you. For example, you're trying to please people, a people pleaser, a perfectionist, people that have trust issues. So these are signs to know how the trauma had affected you. And also needed to do one thing for me: stop expecting healing to be quick. Because there's sometimes that this healing will not happen, you know, in your pace or by your pace. And that is why when I often counsel people going through trauma, I'm like, let's give it time. Do not rush. I don't rush my sessions with them. Yeah, you might put in for probably 3 sessions, and after the third session, I'll be sincere with you. That does not mean that we don't need to make sure you are put together in just these 3 sessions. We can, reschedule, we can talk about it again, we can continue. You don't need to just, I need to heal in the next 30 days. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way. Even if you want it that way, it might not happen that way, and you'll be hard on yourself, and you will not go through the process of healing properly. So you want to heal properly. You don't want to rush your healing, or just to, oh, because I need to get married before the end of this year, so I need to heal this trauma so I can be in my husband's house, or I can get married, or I can get a woman to say yes to me, because you want to rush your process. Okay. Like one example, I remember someone that went for counseling at their church. They were planning to marry, normal church marriage counseling, and the counselor noticed that this person had some kind of trauma that he needed to heal from. But because they set the wedding date already, and they just want to go out with the wedding anyway, but the counselor was of the opinion that I will encourage you to heal first, and because it was really a serious one. And this, because this person had wanted to have their wedding anyways, at this probably in the next 4 months, and wanted a second opinion. So they came to me and they were just talking. I was like, initially they didn't come so straight up with that. It was later on I got to understand that it was because, he was trying to get married in the next 4 months. I'm like, that means you're giving your trauma to heal in the next 3 to 4 months. And the sad part was that their partner was not even aware. So I needed to bring the partner on board, let the partner be aware of this trauma, ask questions, and it ended up being both counseling. They both got counsel, and because you really need to let your partner be aware of your trauma, because they need to ask themselves, am I, even if you're not healed before we are getting married, am I ready to help you heal? Or else we will frustrate each other, we will be on each other's throats in the marriage, and the marriage that we are supposed to enjoy together, we end up enduring because someone, is denying their trauma, or someone has not healed from their trauma. Now they want to live like a normal person without a trauma. And because it's the way I will have conversations with someone that I know, that I'm aware, that has some kind of traumatic experience about a topic or about something, will be different from someone I know that is fine. Do you understand? Because I'll be more intentional, more grateful, more grateful, more more careful, because I know that is a wound. Remember, we said that it's a wound you're healing from. So I want to mind how I'm touching your wound. I don't want to just press on you, because I know it's still a wound that is still undergoing healing. Okay, that is why you want to bring them on board and let them know the gravity of the trauma. Is it what they are willing to grow with you or help you heal from? Is it what they are willing to do life with you with? Is it because they really need to be aware. Okay, and if care is not taken, you might not even be aware that they also have similar trauma. So imagine two people having same trauma, and neither of the parties discussed it. Now they're not trying to figure out how to do marriage without trauma. It can really be exhausting. It can really be exhausting. So, like I said, stop expecting healing to be quick. It's not just one prayer. Just all I need is just one prayer or one conversation, and I'm fine. Like I said, not just this one episode. It might not do. One breakthrough moment. Healing often happen in layers. Okay, it happens in layers. Healing is not a destination you arrive at. It is a process you commit to. You also need to learn healthier coping mechanism, because one thing I've noticed is that people that often are going through trauma or are being traumatized, in a way, because the way our brain is being wired, we are looking for a coping mechanism. If care is not taken, some of the times these coping mechanisms are not healthy. That's why you need to learn the healthier version of the coping mechanism that suits your trauma, because many people survive trauma using unhealthy coping mechanism like isolation. Anger can be a coping mechanism for someone that has been traumatized. Trust me, because I've seen things and I've overworking. Sometimes, well, some things we see as, oh, this is temperament or this is personality. It might not really be. It could be a response to trauma or a coping mechanism for the trauma. Okay. So some people have unhealthy coping mechanism, like I was saying earlier, like isolation, anger, overworking, addiction, emotional numbness, avoiding vulnerability. So you need to replace those unhealthy one with healthy coping mechanism like this: healthy conversations, journaling, counseling, reflection, supportive relationships, emotional awareness, and stuff like that. So another thing I need you to know is give yourself permission to feel, because many people were taught to be strong, don't cry, move on, just move on, let's just continue to do life. No, you need to pause. You need to allow yourself to feel. You need to give yourself permission to feel, cry, be angry, talk, free your mind. Don't just move on from traumatic experience, because moving on will not heal the wound. Healing requires feeling. Sometimes the feeling you might be having might be grief, it might be sadness, it might be disappointment, it can be anger, it can be loss. It is okay to process that feeling. Do not rush it, because pain that is ignored does not disappear. It often gets buried and resurfaces later. So you do not want to bury or ignore those pain that you're having or you're experiencing. So healing may require distance. That's another thing I need to know. Healing may require distance, because Sometimes healing require distance from unhealthy environments. You might need to probably change your location, move away from some kind of people, some toxic relationship, some destructive habits, some certain influences. So these are I'm just preparing your heart you know, to the process, the likely process of trauma. So you cannot continually expose yourself to what keeps reopening the wound. So this is why healing may require distance. Okay, because recovery becomes difficult when you're still living inside what keeps hurting you. All right, and again, you need to learn how to build safe relationship. Remember, you've removed yourself or you've distanced yourself from some, from some things because they are not doing well to your healing. They're not helping your healing. So you need to now build safe relationships, because healing really happens completely alone. You need to, you know, build safe relationship like trusted friends, mentors, counselors, healthy communities, support system. Healing grows in safe environments. And I need you to say this. I need to say it before the last. Forgive yourself for who you became while surviving. Because some people, why, you know, they are healing from their trauma, what they are simply doing is trying to survive. So forgive yourself who you became. Some people became an angry person. Some people became a depressed person. Some people became vengeful. They were full of vengeance. You need to forgive yourself. You need to forgive yourself. So lastly, I need you to know that healing does not mean the memory disappears, like I said earlier, because many people fear that they will never heal because they still remember. The fact that you still remember what happened or a toxic relationship, or you still remember the traumatic experience, does not mean that you're not healing. It will not, it won't wipe your, because the fact that you're healing will not mean that your memory will be wiped. It won't wipe away your memory, okay? So recovery does not mean you're forgetting. It means you are remembering without being controlled by it. Do you get that? Recovery does not mean you're forgetting. It means that you're remembering without being controlled by it. A scar is proof that a wound existed. It is also proof that healing happened. So whenever you see a scar, it means that, oh, a wound existed. It's a proof that you were once traumatized. It means that a trauma once happened to you, but now it's also a proof that you've been healed, because now the wound is sealed, it's all healed up, is no longer painful. That is proof that healing happened. So I need you to ask yourself, help me ask yourself some of these questions. What is one thing that you're still trying to heal from? What unhealthy coping mechanism have you heard or have you had to unlearn? What part of your healing journey has been the hardest? And what would healing look like for you today? So I need you to answer this question. Feel free to drop them in the comments or just answer them in your journals. All right. So lastly, let me just say this. Your trauma may explain some of your struggles, but it does not have to dictate your future. Your trauma may explain some of your struggles, your past, but trust me, it does not have to dictate your future. Healing is not about becoming the person you were before the pain. You're not trying to go back to the life you missed. No, it's about becoming a healthier version of yourself despite the pain. Despite the pain. I hope I've been able to do, some kind of justice to how healing from a trauma should look like, and the process, and what to, you know, have in mind, especially to anyone that wants to heal from any traumatic experience. And if this has really, really, really helped you, if you find it informative, you find it helpful, please feel free to share with someone, like this video, comment, share, subscribe to this channel if you are yet to, and turn on the notification bell. I'm certain that it has, in a way opened your eyes, that in a way impacted you. And please feel free to share this with someone you know that really needs to hear this, that needs to watch this video. Thank you, and have a blessed one. Bye.